touching on the top prop bets in the NBA today. All right, so looking at the board for today, it is one that is it's okay. We got some pretty good NHL bets that are out there. We got about 2 interesting college basketball props, and then some okay NBA DFS ones. So all in all, probably not going to be one that we attack too much, but it is going to be an appealing one. And yesterday was funny. The David Perron prop, he got the over like right away, and then it seemed like the rest of the NHL props pretty much hit. We had a little bit of a sweat right here with this one, and we are actually getting this as a pretty good prop again today. The over 2.5 shots on goal on average is set at -139, so a pretty good prop that we were getting there. It was just funny with yesterday with the NHL prop, and heck, even the morning NBA games, those did not go our way, and then the night slate, the night video, it felt good. It felt good to have that. I could go for a little bit more consistency though. Okay. It was just crazy. But that's kind of the beauty of PrizePicks, is that all it takes is one awesome slate like last night's and you're good to go. So no, as it felt good to have. It's a little stressful going through a cold stretch, especially when producing content, especially when it's, other people's money that is on the line. Now, yes, everyone should come in and absorb the information and apply that information however they feel, right? And I feel like I do a good job at setting the expectation for each slate, but there's a lot of kind of fluky stuff happening, once again with Mitchell Robinson 2 nights ago, where it was almost one of my best nights really in a long time. Only gets 20 minutes. He got a full allotment of minutes last night. And then the Zach Collins thing getting ejected. So last night's slate, where basically all of them hit, there's one college basketball prop that didn't hit. It felt very good. So hopefully we're starting a little bit of a hot streak here. But calling this one out here, we can see that the over on DraftKings is set at -125. So much more tighter there. So probably not one that we're going in on. If you guys feel like it's a good prop, you can though. Chris as well. The over on average is set at -150 for over 2.5 shots on goal. We pull him up on DraftKings Sportsbook, only -125. So just interesting there. I always like to say I want continuity between the sportsbooks, and it just seems like we're not getting that, especially lately with the NHL props. So that's a little bit of a worry to me. And then another one, we're looking at under 3.5 shots on goal at -150. And so we can see DraftKings is favoring this at -135. So probably the best of the ones that we're getting thus far for NHL props. Once again, I want to see a consistent message across all the sportsbooks. Okay, so -135 is encouraging here for me because the average sportsbook line has it set at -150. And to me, guys, it does seem like DraftKings is a little bit better with their NHL props. This one, we have a very interesting prop. So the average sportsbook line has the over set at -130, but that's going to be for 4 shots on goal. Okay, so if we take the juice out, it's about -125 for the over to hit at 4 shots on goal. Now, DraftKings Sportsbook has the over set at -130 for 3.5 shots on goal. Just a very interesting prop that I wanted to call out. And then our best prop that we are getting while using DraftKings Sportsbook would be looking at the -140 here. Okay, and so it does seem like PrizePicks defaults to DraftKings a little bit more, so this could be a prop that actually isn't available when half the views get in for this video, which that's the toughest part about this content. It's I can't really control the boards when they come out. I can't really control when people are coming in and clicking. I would love for, honestly, the views on my videos to be flipped where the afternoon video, when we have all the information we need for this slates, I would love for that to be the video that gets the most click and the views, because that's the one in which we have a majority of the information for the slate. And so those little kind of guesses, if you will, that you have to make aren't exactly there. And by that, I mean injury stuff. We know NBA DFS, there's injuries that change really the whole dynamics of each slate. So looking at this, guys, we have 2 college basketball props that were kind of sticking out. We look at it here, and if we look at the recent game log, it's not going to be pretty. But we got Brandon Smith over 10.5 shots on goal, or over 10.5 points here. This line is set at -145 on DraftKings Sportsbook. And so, yeah, that number's still there. The only hesitation I have is that I have seen more success when I'm able to pull up both DraftKings and FanDuel's odds for college basketball. FanDuel is just much more late to the party when it comes to getting out college basketball props. So, take this with a grain of salt. It is the best one that we were getting, though, in terms of college basketball props for the over. Then we have another one here, -140 for over 13.5 points. And once again, we can kind of see that this is kind of scary, just given the fact that he hasn't been over recently. Now, this game log is interesting. I'm going to pull this up because I bet that PrizePicks is just wrong with this game log. And so, yes, PrizePicks is definitely missing some games here. And that's going to happen with PrizePicks, honestly, with them covering stuff that they typically don't cover. We can see based off his game log, his last games were Colorado, Kentucky, Butler, or maybe no, that's not Colorado. This is Colorado. This is Cornell. And so we can see against Princeton, the last time out, he had 18 points. Okay, so on paper, when we're looking at this, like this is ugly, we can see that. But then in actuality, we can kind of see why he's favoring the over here. Okay, does average 11.6 points on the season. That game was a high-scoring game against Princeton as well. Went to OT, so it makes more sense why they're favoring the over here as well at minus 140. And once again, guys, like when it comes to NHL and college basketball props, I don't consider myself an expert at all in those. I just want to find the best odds that we are getting, because in the long term, finding bets that are going to be minus 140 or better are going to pay off. Okay, now, sure, on a per night basis, like the David Perron one to start the day yesterday, those are going to miss. Like, it's just going to happen. But in the long term, if we can hit, let's just say 54% of those, 60% of those, like we're going to be sitting pretty. And that's really my goal with those. Now let's get into the NBA side. So for what it's worth, we don't have anything on Evan Mobley just yet as I'm recording this. Jared Allen is currently questionable. He's expected to sit. So that could really change the whole dynamic of my PrizePicks board, really. Looking at right now, Darius Garland is currently questionable as well. And so if we look at the per 36 numbers for the Cavs with Garland and with Jared Allen off the court, Donovan Mitchell averages 51 fantasy points per 36. Obviously, that's crazy. We don't really expect him to get that. But at the same time, it is a matchup with Charlotte, an appealing matchup. And we can see it's really not the realm of possibilities there. So like 55 against Miami. And that was a game in which Garland ended up sitting out. And so if he can put up 55 DraftKings points, slightly different on obviously PrizePicks, that's highly appealing to me, right? And it should be to you guys as well. Miami's a tougher matchup. So the only question I would have, and I want to see the game log first, but the only question I would have is what the projection of this game is. Is it a game that's projected to stay close, or is it going to be one that's a blowout? No game log against Charlotte for Donovan Mitchell. Interesting. So let's pull up this game. 8.5 Cleveland's favored by. Now I wonder if this would change if we get confirmation that Garland and Jared Allen are going to sit. And then for what it's worth, guys, looking at Evan Mobley with Jared Allen and Darius Garland off the court, actually only averages about 38 fantasy points per 36, which is about a 1.5 bump in fantasy points per 36 with those two off the court. But if Garland is active and Jared Allen is out, that would actually help Mobley a little bit more. He averages about 8 more fantasy points per 36. So if we get news that Garland is active and Allen is out, I think we'd like Mobley a little bit more. Now, I do want to pull up the fantasy projections here. I also want to call in an update here. Someone requested this. I think it was in the 9 to 5 Discord chat. And they're like, hey, for fantasy props, could you pull in the sportsbooks projection and what their odds are? And I'm like, yes, I can. And so it's kind of unique in the sense that obviously we don't get a fantasy point projection for DraftKings or FanDuel for that matter. What we do get are the collection of all the odds that we're getting for the day. Points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, that stuff, turnovers as well. We can combine those together to get the average over and under odds. Okay, so for instance, like the average sportsbook line for Spencer Dinwiddie today is very closely aligned with what his PrizePick line is set at. And I find that very interesting. It's like, okay, this does work, okay? But like combining his projection for all the stuff, points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, turnovers, and whatnot, I think that's it. We can see the average sportsbook line would have his fantasy point prop set at 34.1. They would actually be suggesting the under at 107. And I'm not saying we should take anything from this at all, because like there are going to be certain situations, like look at this one. This one's unique. Jamal Murray under fantasy points. Okay. And they're kind of heavily suggesting that, but he's projected to get 36.97. So it's just another sort of data point for us to kind of use, maybe to feel more comfortable about a prop that we are getting. So like another good instance would be potentially looking at Cameron Johnson. Now, not the best here, but we can see kind of a lack of continuity there. But it's just kind of another avenue. If we feel like there's a fantasy prop that we want to make, we can just kind of check on this as well. So I don't know. I'm kind of excited for that. Like I said, some people were asking about it, so I figured I could get it out to people. And so for what it's worth, and I'm probably betting the over here for Donovan Mitchell as an FY, just using his per 36 numbers, especially with the matchup against Charlotte. But we can see collectively the sportsbooks would be saying we'd want to bet the under fantasy points at 44.5, which is basically exactly what PrizePicks has it set at. He is projected to get 42.35. Now, why might we want to change it? Well, that would be because Darius Garland is out. Now, if Darius Garland's active, that does change it. Then we could maybe bet the under. And I don't know if the line will change. So just a very interesting one. I just want to call that out for you guys. And then just as an FY as well, this is for people that are using the tool on the website. So I don't really want to be confusing people, but I probably am. That's not going to, like these over bets right here that I always show, this is not going to be popping up on there for fantasy points. I want these to be separate. So looking at it, guys, like we're not really getting like any crazy ones. Now, Zach Collins here, points and rebounds. The line is set at 21.5. He's actually projected to get 29.7. Okay. That's a huge edge. And I don't really get why we're getting that number for Zach Collins. You can see he averages about 16.4, but that was while getting 20 minutes. Okay. If he gets 29 minutes, if he doesn't get ejected, he should get there. Like, this is a pretty good line that we're getting there for Zach Collins. And so, like, not to be a dead horse here, but, he dominated against Denver in only 21 minutes. Like, we can see just looking at that, like if he gets 29 minutes, and this is against Denver, a very more difficult matchup, a matchup that we're not really attacking. We can see he would have got the over. We can see like gets the over pretty much consistently. Okay. This is a more favorable matchup going against OKC, a matchup that, you know, we've been wanting to target really this whole season. And so are the Spurs for that matter, but this is going to be a good prop for us to attack. The question is, are we going to bet fantasy points or are we going to bet points and rebounds? And so as it sits right now, I do feel pretty comfortable betting the points and rebounds, especially given the matchup with OKC. We can see if we take the opponent per minute production times what Zach Collins minutes are projected to get, he should get 25.7. So a pretty good prop that we're getting there. And for what it's worth, I'm actually curious to see if OKC is going to rest any players back end of a back-to-back. They've been a team that's been banged up this whole season. I'm interested to see that because I kind of expect it. And once again, that is favored at minus 130 for the over there. So a pretty good one that we're getting. And that's the best like edge bet that we're getting really by far. And in all honesty, I probably have been putting a lack of emphasis on props like that. If you look at yesterday, the two best ones that we were getting in terms of this were Kawhi Leonard and then also Walker Kessler. And they really crushed that, where the over odds were favored, or whatever. The over under odds, I think they were both over odds yesterday. The over odds were favored at least like minus 130, minus 125. And then their edge, the projection minus the PrizePicks line, was huge. And so probably something I should be paying, I don't want to say paying a little bit more attention to, but putting a little bit more emphasis on it when I'm going through for these videos. So I don't know how you guys' thoughts are on PJ Tucker, but this is a pretty interesting one. Minus 132 for under 3.5 rebounds. The projection is set at 2.39. That's an okay one. That's really it for the under ones that we're getting. Let's look at over bets where the lines weren't matching up. Really, the best one that we're getting would be Porzingis over 21.5 points. The average sportsbook line has it set about 22.2 at minus 121. He's projected to get 23. So a decent one that we're getting there, but that's kind of it. Like this one's all right for Tobias Harris, but he's just so sporadic, and that is fantasy points there. He's just so sporadic with his production. Now let's see any under ones. And so these are going to be under bets here. If you want to bet them, you can. Kind of interesting there for Monte Morris, but we can see he's projected to get over there. And so let's just sort by projections here. So Nick Claxton, I do find it interesting here. And I don't want to touch Tobias Harris. I don't know. It's just like, yes, this is a very low number. He should be able to get the over. It's just, I don't know. I just don't trust his production. I just don't. And maybe we get some news that changes. You know, on the weekend slates, we do see a lot of players get ruled out. With Dallas last night, Hardy and Josh Green ended up being really strong prop bets, like literally right before lineup block. And so I could see that happening today. That's just something that seems to happen a little bit more frequently on the weekends. So like if we get news that maybe Embiid or Harden are sitting, then yeah, Tobias Harris would be a good prop, but it probably will be taken away pretty fast. So we do see Nick Claxton popping up here again. He is a strong point per minute player. The only issue with him would be looking at the matchup with Denver. Like he could get into foul trouble. Okay. If he doesn't, yeah, this is a pretty good one that we're getting. And let's just check out this over and under. -9 for Denver. Don't like that. So we have 3 games to start out that are games in which I start to worry about blowouts at 7.5 points. So don't love that either. So it does kind of add to the variance that we get when we get games that are, you know, potential blowout risks. But Nick Claxton, not a terrible prop. Don't mind that. And it's kind of one of those situations in which I've been running out these little, and this is more for like DraftKings and FanDuel, little Brooklyn stacks where I've been getting like at least 2 of them in my builds because they've been undervalued there. And with that, they've also been undervalued on PrizePicks as well. And it just seems like 2 of them are crushing it and sometimes 3 of them. So I don't mind the idea of running out a specific game stack there, hoping that stays close. Porzingis over fantasy points. Let's see, averages about 442. The PrizePicks line has it set at 39.5. Not terrible. And we can see he's been over for quite a bit here. Wouldn't say this is a favorable matchup against Philly, but that's why we're getting a lower prop line. And then, yeah, I don't know your guys' thoughts on this, but like in a situation like this where we're waiting on injury news, do you guys just wait or do you guys like take literally the gamble here and you could bet the over for Donovan Mitchell. If Garland sits, it should be more likely to hit. Or you could bet the under if Garland plays. It seems like a 50-50 to me, but it does seem like kind of a big edge one way or the other. And you could kind of maybe hedge it a little bit where maybe you take one of your favorable bets on the day and attach it and kind of bet both. I don't know. It's just a thought process there. Once again, that's the toughest part about, content, not having the full injury news. I do want to call out Spencer Dinwiddie as well, because he has been someone that has been going off lately. This does seem like a low PrizePicks line for him at 34.5. If you pull up his recent production, he's been going off like really 4 straight games in which he's gotten the over on a point per minute basis. And I pulled that up because like against Houston, 29 minutes had 32 fantasy points. I mean, he crushed it. Would have easily gone there, it seems like. So if this game stays close or close for long enough, I don't mind Spencer Dinwiddie over fantasy points as well. So, we could potentially run out maybe a little bit of a game stack like Nick Claxton, Spencer Dinwiddie, maybe Mikal Bridges if you guys want to kind of really try to get lucky. And then maybe run it back with like Jamal Murray. And then I wouldn't mind the idea of one of Aaron Gordon or MPJ. MPJ has been struggling lately, so probably not him. And then Jokic, I don't know, this feels a little bit too high for Jokic because this is a pretty good defensive team on paper. I think they're going to start to really figure it out, the continuity for that team. And then, for what it's worth, looking at Zach Collins' fantasy prop line, 30.5. I personally think this is too low, especially in this matchup against OKC. It is like 5 up from what it was the previous night, but it's a great matchup. Should be able to get there. I mean, look at these matchups. Indy, Houston, those are matchups we've been chasing. So it does feel like a good prop line. But do you want to bet points and rebounds, which is obviously a really strong one, or fantasy points? That's really up for you guys. And so to recap, I really do like Zach Collins again today. I hope he doesn't let me down again. Hopefully he doesn't get ejected. And then I do think like Spencer Dinwiddie, I like that prop. He's just been playing so well. This is very much dependent on him scoring, though. So if he has a cold night shooting, not going to get there. But if we're running out like Brooklyn players, I just think we should do a stack like Jamal Murray, Claxton, Dinwiddie. I don't mind that. I might take the risk and hope that Garland sits and bet the over for Donovan Mitchell. It definitely seems risky there. And I really hope that we get a good Evan Mobley prop. We just don't have that yet. And then I will be kind of attaching these to the good NHL props that we're getting. And then the college basketball props, hopefully throughout the day, that are getting better as well. Just as an FYI again, like these two props are the best college basketball props that we're getting. Smith over 10 points, 10.5, and then Jarvis over 13.5. Once again, his game log isn't accurate. That's part of it. But that's all for today's video. I know I haven't really been highlighting like the bets of the day or today's bets. That's just because I did that for Underdog yesterday. That was good. Like those are 2 pretty easy ones, it seems like, that we were getting. I only want to call those out directly when I feel very strongly that we are getting favorable bets. Like I want that to be, all right, we're going to come in, we're going to bet these, they're going to hit 60% of the time or so. And I say that because literally professional bettors hit 54% of their bets. That's it. Okay, so that's why on a day-to-day basis, I don't want to be pushing out bets just to produce content. I want to give you guys the information to be able to absorb it and apply it the way that you want. And use the projections and whatnot to apply that knowledge as well. So hopefully I was able to do that in today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please give a like and subscribe. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.